Hey everybody, welcome to the Adam Makes Beer Recipe Writing Workshop. This is the introductory episode, and this is something that I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. The reason I'm so excited about doing this workshop is I'm very passionate about brewers sharing the things that they've learned throughout their time brewing. I know we've all seen instances where people don't want to share recipes or recipe writing concepts, and I think that goes against the spirit of what brewing is. We've all learned from those who came before us, and this is an attempt by me to do that for others. I am not the authority on how to write beer recipes, but I will teach you everything my decade plus of professional brewing has taught me. This is not an authoritative guide. It's not the only way to write recipes. It is a compilation of my experiences that I share openly. My hope is that you will come away with a better understanding of how I create recipes and concepts that will guide you in writing your own. So who is this recipe writing workshop for? In my mind, I want it to be a course for professional brewers and passionate home brewers that are looking to expand their understanding of recipe creation. This course is not meant to teach you brewing fundamentals. This is meant for folks that know how to produce wort, but want a deeper understanding of how to generate specific flavors, aromas, and balance in their finished beer. I'm passionate about this concept because there are a lot of brewers on the professional side that have gotten paid for years to make beer for a living, but are missing this critical skill set that can help take their careers to the next level. My hope with this course is that it's going to give you the tools to be a more effective creator of flavor, aroma, and balance in your beers. I'm a big believer in not trying to reinvent the wheel when you're recipe writing. There are a ton of great resources out there that you can use as building blocks. For those of you that are brewing professionally, you have access to a wide range of recipes that your brewery is already producing, and you can think about those beers, how they turn out, and then different directions that you want to go from there. You can use that as a template. I think there's a few tools and concepts that you can familiarize yourself with that will make you more effective in doing that. First of all, I think you should start looking at all your recipes as far as the grist goes in terms of percentage. That's going to be a very clean way of you being able to segment different portions of your grist, whether it be the base malt, roast malt, crystal malt, adjuncts, things like that. I think it's going to be really important to familiarize yourself with the concept of the BU-GU ratio, which is bittering units and gravity units. It's not a perfect metric, but it is one more input that can be factored into the process of recipe formulation. For instance, if you're making a beer right now, either at home or in the pub that you work in, the brewery you work in, and you have a 1050 beer, and you know that it has 20 IBU, you know the type of balance that creates. When you start factoring in other elements like residual sweetness, that can be dependent on your mash temperature, your grist build as far as non-fermentable malts that are being used. You can start to understand how you can manipulate bittering levels, starting gravity levels, and finish gravity levels in order to create the balance that you're looking for. There are a few basics that I think you're going to need in order for this class to be helpful for you. First of all, there's a couple of resources that I'm a huge fan of and that I use a ton. I'm a huge fan of Brewing Classic Styles by Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. If this is not part of your brewing library, whether pro brewer or home brewer, it should be. There are a ton of recipes in here with essentially almost every style. There's a few, different styles that have popped up since it's been released, but it's such a killer baseline for you to understand where these styles can start. You can brew something directly out of this using the percentage technique that we'll build in later in the course. And you can get a good baseline of how that style can express. And then you can make tweaks from there. Another big book that I think is very big to understanding fundamental recipe writing, and especially the interaction between that hops have in the beer, bitterness, flavor, aroma, all that, is The New IPA by Scott Janisch. Huge fan of that. You can also add on any of the Brewers Association's books on the different elements of beer, malt, water, yeast. Big fan of the yeast book, hops. Those can all play a role, but these are a couple books that I really want to focus on and I think really should be part of your library. I think you should get used to using a recipe calculator, something that can help you determine color, IBU, expected gravities. You should have something dialed in for the brew house that you're working on, either at home or on the pro side. If not, do a deep dive on that concept of being able to use a recipe calculator, because that's not something that we're going to build in here. I personally use Beersmith. I think it's great. And there's a ton of tutorials online about it. I also think you should start taking a deep dive on yeast libraries that are available online. You can jump on Omega, Y Yeast, White Labs, all the other labs out there. Escarpment is great as well. Start digging into the spec sheets for all of their different yeast strains. You can really dive into all the different ways that a yeast strain can contribute to your finished beer and different ways you can manipulate that, whether that be through temperature change, pitching rate, oxygenation range. And we'll get into that when we get specifically into yeast later on in this course. I also think it's really important to become a student of other brewers. There are a lot of podcasts out now where you can get, long form, deep dive conversations with great brewers. Search them out. They're out there. One of my personal favorites is Craft Beer and Brewing. They have some amazing long form interviews with some absolutely dynamite pros that will tell you so much about what they're doing and their process. It's really an invaluable tool. And as somebody that's trying to become great at recipe development, somebody that's always trying to improve, because that's what we're always trying to do on this channel. That's my goal. When I talk to you as brewers, whether it be amateur or professional, we always want to get better at what we're doing. It's so key to listen to what other people are doing and be able to glean that information from them. It will absolutely change your growth curve as a brewer. With all that said, that is pretty much a wrap for today's introductory episode. Look forward to episodes on yeast, grist building, adjuncts, spices, fermentation stuff, the whole deal, all right? It's going to be really important for me that you give me feedback in the comments throughout this. It'll also be super helpful if you share this with other brewers, homebrewers, pro brewers, all that stuff. It would be really appreciated. But also leave me feedback in the comments so I know how I can kind of build this and amend this course as we go. I don't see this course as a static thing that happens once. I'm certain that there's going to be feedback questions that I get that I wish I had included information on in that particular episode. So I can build that back in later. So when I do the episode on malt and you have questions, I'm going to go back later and take all those questions and make a little add-on episode that will tag on right behind that. It's a way that you can help me build the best recipe creation guide that I can do. Appreciate your time and hope you have a great day.